It's great to have everyone back for our Stop the Hate Week panel discussion on seniors. One of the things that is just mind-boggling is that one of our greatest resources in terms of experience and knowledge in the entertainment industry is so often marginalized, misrepresented on the screen. So rather than celebrate the lives and the lessons that are well learned and well earned, our culture often regulates seniors to the sidelines. But not today. Today, for SAG-AFTRA, we are bringing seniors to the center of this discussion, to center stage. We're going to look at how we're going to create systematic change and greater inclusion and opportunities for senior representation that reflects the real, true diversity of the American scene. We are so lucky to have today to open up our discussion, Jackie Joseph. Jackie Joseph is the National Chair of SAG-AFTRA's Seniors Committee. Jackie has had such a storied career in our business, spanning many decades, including her roles in Gremlins, which was a personal favorite of mine, Little Shop of Horrors, Small Soldiers. Jackie does so much for SAG-AFTRA, and we're just grateful to have her here. So welcome, Jackie. It is so wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you, Rebecca, for your kindness and for your endless devotion to our very wonderful union. You are so present, and your leadership is a treasure, and also your commitment to pushing proactively on the issue of equity and certainly on the issue of seniors. Okay, I'm Jackie Joseph. I am 87 years old, and I am an actor. That's a nod to the SAG Awards. I mentioned age. Age usually is unmentionable. It's many performers are just horrified at the mention of age. It's like circling the drain, just waiting to go down. Now look, we know that with age comes some physical challenges, like people in real life. Can't hear? Hearing aids. A little trouble seeing? Glasses. A broken rib, like I have right now? Suck it up. As Stephen Sondheim said over 50 years ago, I'm still here. We're still here. So, as a National Seniors Committee, our primary mission is obviously to create the employment opportunities for SAG-AFTRA seniors that they so deserve. And we work with locals on their projects to advance their seniors and also to increase awareness of the value of hiring seniors. I mean, they're really interesting people. Now, we do focus on the necessities like healthcare and pensions and entitlements that are out there. But I think the fundamental question for today's panelists right now is who? Who is a senior? I mean, is it determined a certain age, suddenly you're defined as someone who is just going to be moving to the sidelines because that age says we're not necessary anymore. Especially women, may I say. Big deal for women. So what is clear to our committee, and myself, of course, is that we really need a major campaign, a big, loud campaign that puts a spotlight on the senior issues. I mean, we know the issues. We've talked about them for years, but it's really time for action right now. And my next action is to introduce Lee Purcell, who is my colleague and my cohort, a longtime stellar performer in film and television, and SAG-AFTRA local board member, and also the impassioned chair of the Los Angeles Local Seasoned Performers Committee. So Lee, please share your thoughts and introduce our moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, for setting the stage for the discussion and for your terrific leadership as the national chair of SAG-AFTRA's Seniors Committee. Let me put this frankly. Ageism is the bias that is typically ignored in the passionate campaigns to end racism, sexism, and all forms of discrimination, but not ageism. People scream about the need to represent in film and television what is referred to as the American scene. Yet people over 60 are both underrepresented and misrepresented, even though we are over 20% of the US population and rapidly growing. In 10 years, seniors will outnumber 18 and under. Pretty incredible. And we have the most disposable income to spend, which advertisers ignore, instead focusing on the less affluent 18 to 35 group. Remember this, the one category that everybody will end up in, if you're fortunate, is the over 60 older adult category. We in SAG-AFTRA are passionate advocates, but keeping in mind the demographics of our nation, let's back up our upcoming panel's conversation with concrete facts so everyone listening can understand that hard data underlines our demand for equity and inclusion. The Annenberg School of Communication at USC, which is a very reputable source, has done two eye-popping recent studies appropriately titled Still Rare, Still Ridiculed, on the dire lack of inclusion of seasoned performers in film and television. I will share with you the main points which tell us clearly that seasoned performers are almost invisible in film and television. And when we do appear, we are misrepresented and often ridiculed. In the top 100 grossing films of 2016, out of the 4,288 speaking or named characters with a discernible age, only 10.7% were 60 years of age or older. The same is true in television. Of the 1,609 characters, speaking characters in the Annenberg study, a total of 9.4% were age 60 and above in the 72 TV series analyzed. This means, as seasoned performers, we don't have work opportunities. Let's drill a bit deeper. Combining ageism with sexism, only 26.4% of all over 60 characters were female. Listen to this. While 73.6% were male, even though women comprise a larger percentage of the US population than men. 39 of the 100 movies analyzed by the Annenberg study did not portray a single female over 60 speaking character. Television tells the same grim story. Only 3 shows of the 72 series evaluated featured characters over 60, only 3, and included the same bias toward women. When characters over 60 appear on large or small screens, the litany of misrepresentation, bias, and ridicule is clear. The characters over 60 overwhelmingly include mental, physical, or communicative impairments. Where are the healthy, smart, vibrant, sexy, over 60 people that we all know and that we are? Now, there is a ray of light with the recent launch of Landline Pictures, a label under the independent studio MRC Film, which I just love, which is specifically targeting the 50+ audience and is aiming to release 3 to 4 films each year for both theatrical exhibition and streaming. It's run by Amy Bayer, who previously ran CBS Films and was the executive vice president of production at Sony. She has said publicly that movies aimed at the over 50 demographic are, and I quote, made for an audience that craves content, but don't have a lot of content created for them and for their lives and their experiences, end quote. In other words, there's a lot of money being left on the table as an entire lucrative audience is being ignored. I agree with Jackie. We need to wake up people with a major campaign. And that is what I hope we come out of today's discussion with. A commitment to storm the barricades, to make real lasting change to the last accepted bias, ageism. We have a stellar group of panelists, which I am honored to join, to engage these issues and to lead the discussion. It's my pleasure to introduce my friend, Ellen Crawford, a phenomenal actress of stage and screen, who many people know from her role as Nurse Lydia Wright on ER, the legendary series from 1994 to 2003, a role she reprised in 2009 for the series finale. Ellen is the National Organizing Chair of SAG-AFTRA, a former national board member, a Los Angeles local board member, and the co-chair of the LA Member Organizing Volunteer Efforts, known as its acronym, MOVE. Thank you, Ellen, for your work, and take it away.
Thank you so much, Lee, and thank you, Jackie. You know, your passionate advocacy combined with these really, truly vital and startling bits of data that you've given us, I think really set us up for a very empowering event. I really appreciate it. To all of you attending, thank you. Welcome to our conversation with award-winning panelists, award-winning seasoned actors, as we consider how to create systemic change with greater inclusion and opportunities for senior performance to better reflect the diversity of the American scene. Now, I think we've all heard enough discussions that have kind of spiraled into just complaint sessions. So I want to approach this with a focus on resiliency, opportunities, positivity, and ways to engage allies and find solutions. So we have an extraordinary panel today. I will say up front, we had some last minute changes that I need to announce. We had Dr. Alma Martinez had an emergency this morning. Unfortunately, I adore her work. She will not be able to be with us today. But Kim Estes, who is the Emmy Award-winning terrific actor and all-around great guy, fortunately for him, we're disappointed, but happy for him, he is working today on set. So that's good news, right? Because we're working. So our very lovely Lee and Jackie have graciously agreed to join our panel, and very happy to have you here as well. So let me introduce the rest of our amazing panel. I'm so excited for this panel. Sheri Foster Blake of the Cherokee Nation is the first Native American nominated for an Emmy Award for her role on The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She was a founding trustee of the First American in the Arts, which honored her with a Best Supporting Actress Award for her role in Oliver Stone's U-Turn. On screen, she's appeared in Shouting Secrets, and her movies for television include Crazy Horse and Coyote Waits. Sheri is a veteran of the stage and toured with the Native American theater group Mystic Voices. We are very excited to welcome Sheri Foster Blake to the panel. Welcome, Sheri.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much.
Honored.
It's an honor to be here and to share and to share our stories and to get in the circle and complete this circle to elevate all of us. And I'm just really happy to be here. Thank you.
Thrilled to have you. Thank you. Geri Jewell, stand-up comic and actor Geri Jewell, made entertainment history in the 80s as the first person with a visible disability to be cast in a recurring role on television, playing Cousin Geri on The Facts of Life. She went on to other roles, such as recurring on HBO's Deadwood, and was inducted into TV Academy's Archive of American Television. Geri is also a member of the SAG-AFTRA National Performers with Disabilities Committee. We are just so happy to have you here. Please welcome Geri Jewell. Hi, Geri.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm honored to be a part of this. I really am.
Great to have you here. Harry Groener, Broadway, regional theater, film, and TV actor, recording artist, and dancer. Harry Groener, woo, everything. He does everything. Harry Groener will always be remembered for his Tony-nominated roles on Broadway, especially Crazy for You. His notable film and TV credits include About Schmidt with Jack Nicholson, A Road to Perdition with Tom Hanks, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We are extremely thrilled to welcome Harry Groener with us today. Hi, Harry. So now I'm going to do bios for Jackie and Lee. Jackie Joseph is an American character actress, voice artist, and writer known for the film characters of, oh, you're going to love this one. I know you all remember this. Audrey Fulquard in the 1960 original film, The Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, yeah.
It started it all. Sheila Futterman in Gremlins 1 and 2, Mrs. Kirkland in Police Academy 2 and 4, and the voice of Melody in the animated television series Josie and the Pussycats. Featured in the Dick Van Dyke Show, Gomer Pyle, Hogan's Heroes, and Love American Style, and was an original member of the Billy Barnes Review in LA and New York, and was Los Angeles's Little Mary Sunshine.
Wow.
I would like to say you remain our Little Mary Sunshine, Jackie. Lee Purcell. Actress Lee Purcell was recently seen starring in the groundbreaking feature film Carol of the Bells for director Joey Travolta and his Inclusion Films. The film's crew was 70% comprised of people with disabilities, and 3 members of the cast had disabilities. Lee is the recipient of 2 Primetime Emmy nominations, her first being for Long Road Home, starring opposite Mark Harmon, the second for Secret Sins of the Fathers, starring opposite Beau Bridges. She recently completed the TV pilot Sick, and was also recently seen in the film JL Ranch opposite John Voight, and in the feature film Kids vs. Monsters opposite Malcolm McDowell, and in Hallmark's Love at First Glance opposite Amy Smart. In her extensive career, this acclaimed actress has earned numerous film, television, and stage credits, including her role as Louise St. Laurent on the international TV series Due South, and as the sultry stepmom in the iconic film Valley Girl with Nicolas Cage. Lee was also seen as Eleanor Sullivan in the NBC TV primetime series Persons Unknown with Chadwick Boseman, created by Oscar winner Christopher McQuarrie. Fans around the world also frequently reach out to Lee for her role as Peggy in the cult favorite film Big Wednesday. Lee is a voting member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, Oscars, and also a voting member of the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Emmys. Active in union service, Lee currently serves on the Los Angeles local board of SAG-AFTRA and several union committees. So I am thrilled, as I said, to have you all here. Thank you so much for being here. So I would like to start with a question that I think each of you might answer. Given the disturbing statistics of underrepresentation and misrepresentation, which Lee Purcell shared with us, combined, of course, with your own personal experience, why do you think there's not a more robust seniors movement demanding our representation, storming the barricades, as we were talking about? Why do you think that is? Anybody want to start? Yes.
I'll start.
I think it all comes down to writing. And it's like was said before, the demographics. I think that studios and films they're playing to a younger demographic. So I think if we can storm or somehow get in touch with writers, because the writer, it comes with a good story, and good stories come with a diverse cast. So I think if we got in touch with writers to write good stories, including elders. I know in the Native community, there are a couple series coming out. In all of the series, there is an elder representation. There is a grandma, and there's usually an elder man. So if we could somehow get in touch with writers to write stories for us, or to include us in their stories. And like that the lady from ABC who's starting the new movies and are going to put out for our demographic, I think that's a huge start. So I think writing is a big way to get there, is in writing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, Jackie.
Ellen, I'd like to just, I know in the senior committee just before the pandemic, we had started a consortium. We were gathering a coalition of people, including writers and producers, and just wanting to grow with other unions and even other organizations with like concerns about how seniors are presented. So we were just about to hold our nose and dive into all this when we had to stop everything. And hopefully that this energy will help us pick up where we left off. You know, hopefully there'll be some funding and that we can use this as part of our siege on the minds of people for what a senior is.
Great. Thank you. Yes, Lee.
I echo both what both ladies said. Before the pandemic, like Jackie said, we were forming a consortium, and even before that, we had an outreach committee, and with writers, producers, directors, so forth from the various unions and guilds, and that. What's the name of that, Jackie? That is it called ACT? The one that we get that they're doing screenplays, they're writers. It's a group from WGA. Do you remember, Jackie, what that's ACT?
Yes,
It's ACT. Yeah, if anybody wants to subscribe to that, let me know. And I will put you in touch with them, because they do screenwriting competitions. They pay money. And so they are trying to, as Sheri suggested, reach the writers. I personally think that it's a step earlier than the writers. I think it's the producers, the directors, not the directors, the producers and the studios and the networks and the people who dictate the content. I'm really happy about Amy Bayer, the woman I spoke about, who started Landline Pictures. She used to be with CBS. And I'm really happy about her because she gets it. And so does the studio that her company is under. They get it. It's a long road, and we've been working on it for already a few years. But I think that to answer your question, Ellen, there was a movement back in the 70s called the Grey Panthers. And it was started by Maggie Kuhn, I think, because she was forced into retirement at 65. I mean, what's that? And so she was really angry and she started a movement. I don't know what happened to it before my time. And I think that we are trying within the union to start a movement, but a successful movement. And one thing we did recently that you all should know is we were very involved in the W&Ws, which is the wages and working conditions. That's meetings that people have. In case you don't know, any member can show up and give ideas and ask questions. And so we did that because I wanted to put language into the new upcoming contract called Net Code, which is not TV and theatrical, but it covers things like reality shows and soap operas and so forth. So I have always been a very firm believer in a legislature. And I think if we can get changes, stronger language, stronger rewards, and I don't want to use the word penalties, but stronger rewards for people to use more seasoned performers into our contracts, I think that will really help because it gives us a leg to stand on.
Yeah, I believe how that stands right now is that
Okay.
they agreed to our principle that said we can't force people to hire seniors, but
Yeah, we
we
can.
can be very forceful to give them opportunity to be hired.
Right. But, you know, I want stronger than that because the other movements that have taken place, racism and LGBTQ, all those initials, they have been very forceful and very strong and very committed, and change is happening there. And so I think that we need to work harder on that language.
You know, I think what would be interesting would to start to where the 65-year-old who got knocked out, if we could pick up where she left off, you know, include what she did. So I really think what you're saying is totally valid. We have to come at it at every angle, I think. So anything we do is going to be good.
I agree.
Geri,
Yeah.
any thoughts?
I agree with that completely. We need to be more forceful. I have always been a part of ableism, you know, having cerebral palsy and breaking into an industry that didn't even look at people with disabilities. And now that I'm over 60, shockingly so,
You made it.
I am a survivor, but more than a survivor, I'm a survivor. And that's what we all are as seniors. And we need to look at ourselves differently and push forward and let other people know what we are capable of doing. I have a whole career behind me of knowledge and experience that a lot of people don't have. And we all have that. We need to value each other.
Absolutely. Great. Harry, you're up.
I'm up, eh? I totally,
man.
completely agree with everything Sheri and Lee and Jackie and Geri have said. But there's also I think an issue, a societal issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's a perception in our society of people over 50 and whether they're viable for anything. I mean, one of the benefits of the pandemic, one of the benefits of the quarantine for me, I mean, we're all watching more movies, right? We're all on Netflix. We're all, you know, doing a bit more like that. Well, I've been watching a lot of foreign films, foreign television series, and what you will see in France and Germany and all of is you see men and women over 50, over 60. They have romantic leads. They are in those positions, and the perception is that that man or woman over 50 is sexy. Mm-hmm. And there is a kind of viability there for other things as well. And we don't see that really in this country. And that bleeds into our business and bleeds into the writers and the producers that are primarily, in my perception, correct me if I'm wrong, are young men. And they're the ones who are the writers, and we don't have enough women writing for us. We don't have enough. We do have women in positions of power, producing and directing and all that, but not enough. And they're the ones who control and dictate the product and create the piece that we don't get a chance to be involved in.
I think it's so true. And I just wanted to say in regards to what
It's 11 o'clock.
it's 11 o'clock.
Oh, wow. It's
And
11
all
o'clock.
is well.
And all is well.
No, I just wanted to say also that when I do see in this country an older romance, it's frequently, you know, we're portrayed as giggly and silly and, oh, isn't that kind of painful to watch, or isn't that silly to watch? And I know that one film I saw, I won't say which one, but there was, I actually knew an older couple that were background in it. And at this one point, all of these older people were kissing, and they were completely believable because they were a couple. And it was just like, I wish that the movie had taken that view of it, you know. So yes, Jackie, I'm sorry, you wanted to say something. I just had to say that.
Well, I just
Love
wanted
it.
to say, well, first of all, Harry, I've been such a fan of yours for so long. I have to blow away that awe and just be happy in the same room with you. But perception has been the key word since I really started to focus on this issue. And we have been to meetings, and I'm always throwing out perception, and people are saying, oh, that's right, but nothing is happening. That's why we have to have our perception brigade. I think what's really interesting is that, should I wait? Oh, no. I think the young people, for the most part, who are the creatives, who are the green lighters, who are in charge, I don't think they hate seniors. They just don't even know they're there. They're kind of
That's right.
shadow people. And what they don't realize at some point, if they're lucky, that they'll be one of them too. But the good news is that we're still the same people. We haven't assumed another persona just because we're older. We're the same people, maybe a little more accomplished, a little more effective because of our experience and our work, and we're interesting. But some people don't even know we're there, even if we're in front of them going, you know, they can't conceive of what a senior is. So that's our job, to find out, you know, nationally, with the real human beings of the world that aren't on the screen, let's bring them up to know they're interesting so that they can be portrayed once they're noticed in films, and we can do our work. It is a worldwide problem, but mostly, as you say, not so much in Europe and other countries. It's our challenge to get support and to make noise and to show interesting people, not just say, we're really interesting people, but be able to put a spotlight on these people. Put a spotlight on Geri Jewell. She's one of my favorite people in the world. She's so amazing and fun, and I think Sheri knows it's challenging for me as someone who's hearing impaired, and I have to listen very carefully. But I love what Geri says. She is such an important part of our community, and I think you told me once, Geri, that you were standing in line in a drugstore when
Yes.
someone came up to you and said, "Are you Geri Jewell? Do you want to be in this series?" Is that?
Yes, that's how I got Deadwood. I was standing in line in the drugstore, and David Milch was in front of me and gave me the role in the drugstore.
Wow.
Oh my, I didn't know that.
He wrote his phone number on a prescription for Purcell.
Oh, you know, be ready for opportunity. You never know where it's going to come.
Wow.
Yeah, you were. It was a little different from being discovered at the soda fountain in a sweater, but it's a similar sort of thing. Right?
It's all
Wow.
good.
But you were already famous, so I want to make the this brings another question into my mind because these days, you know, we're exploring intersectionality and those multiple layers of identity, which we have, and that enrich our roles with complexity. And so expressing all of your own layers of identity, I'd like to ask, what are the roles that you want to play but feel are not being written for you? And what would your message be to those Hollywood writers? And Geri, I'm since she was referencing you, Geri and Sheri, and whoever wants to jump in, but I was just thinking particularly of the intersectionality of all the layers of who you are and your identity and what you'd like to see written for you.
Well, you know, my identity is, I don't know what my identity is anymore. I already did the cerebral palsy thing. I can't do that again.
But you've still got it. So you can use it.
Well, you know what's interesting is that now that I'm a senior, a seasoned performer, I can have a stroke now, and it's really, I mean, the effects of cerebral palsy, people think I've had a stroke, but I never did. And even if I did, I wouldn't know I had it. So there's a lot of, my biggest battle has been just being considered for a role for a woman my age, period, regardless of what that age is. I want to get past being cast because I have cerebral palsy, because then I'll work once every 10 years.
Right, exactly. Sheri, do you want to chime
Well,
in?
I could join in. Being Native American and how it is in Hollywood, when you play Native, you are Native, and that's where basically you'll get cast, and that's fine. Because I'm proud of it, and there's a lot of more Native projects that are coming up that are of today's Native, not, you know, with, as what we call leather and feathers, you know. But what I'd like to see as a Native woman, to be a politician, as we have, and to also be a lawyer. I mean, I'm seasoned. I do comedy, but I could also do a serious role. And so I'd like to have roles in that area of more a professional woman, rather than, you know, I love being the grandma, don't get me wrong, or the mother, but be a professional woman that's a senior as well. That is your judge, your lawyer, your teacher, your cabinet member, you know, of the United States of America. So, and I think it's getting better because we have Native writers, you know, young writers that are writing more and more material, and they always honor their elders. And so we just need to plant seeds. And as we were sitting here talking about, you know, I was listening to everybody. I think USC Film School is so close to us. We should just have a meeting with the writers and the producers there, as well as UCLA, because here in town we have so many, or the AFI, we have so many different areas that we could go to as a group and just say, here we are. And, you know, I don't know, do scenes. All of a sudden we have senior scene studies. But anyway, that was a thought I wanted to put out there. But in terms of roles, I'd like to see more roles for Native women as professionals.
Great. Great.
You know,
Can I just say something?
Sorry. I have a really rude kitty behind me.
Is that Julie? Julia?
Juliet.
It's Juliet. Yeah, I have a dog and mating peacocks in around me, so the screams.
That's real exciting.
Lee.
I would like to just make the offer to Sheri, if you want to get in touch with me through anybody here.
Oh, sure, I will do.
So if you could consider joining the LA Local Season Performers Committee, I think you'd be great.
I certainly will.
Great.
I'd love to.
That'd be wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure, of course. And anybody else? I mean, Geri's already been on it. Anybody else who wants to, just let me know, because we always need good people. And roles. So I'm actually asked that question a whole lot, and I'm still waiting for the results. So I would like to play the President of the United States. I know it's been done a couple of times, but I'd like to take my own crack at it. And I would like to play a queen of probably a science fiction superhero kind of queen. And I'd like to do that. I noticed that Frances McDormand is doing a Marvel movie, and she is of a certain age. And so, you know, share the wealth with the rest of us. I'd like to do that. And I'd really, really, really like to play a female mob boss. That's like my dream role.
Are you listening out there?
It would be an Irish mob, obviously, you know, but or I could dye my hair black. But yeah.
Listen, I want to talk about because we're all, I think, very passionate about doing things and making sure we're active. So I want to talk about creating your own opportunities, whether that's creating your own content or forming artistic partnerships with people or a community, whole community through projects or showcases, just any other way. What has been your experience, and what might you advise people watching this panel?
That's obvious.
Well, okay.
It's a
I'll
tough
go
one.
if nobody else will.
It's, I'll tell you, my last opportunity was so much fun because it's something that I haven't got to do, well, ever, no matter how old I was, is I did a Modern Family, and as Jesse Tyler Ferguson was at a event listening to somebody speak, and he just got bored, and he got up and he was leaving the event in front of me, and I got to raise my hands and grab his butt and just go honk honk, honk. And it was so bizarre. And I even before we shot asked him what's his preference, you know, to be careful, to give it a good one, what? But it's so fun to get different things like that. It's not that I want to become a professional honker. I just want to do something that's a little outrageous. And because I still have girlfriends. I went to school here in LA, and we are still the same girls we were, except we're older. But we still are silly, we still have fun, we still plan adventures. And I would like to see more of the reality of the girlfriends of, you know, their various stages of seniorhood. There's a huge diversity within the seniors themselves. So I'd like that kind of peeled back to really emphasize how many different kinds of people are senior people.
I have been fascinated by how many, like my young nephew and a lot of young people are still fascinated with Golden Girls. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that lives on. So it kind of proves that you don't have to have just older people watching older people. Geri, don't you have a documentary coming out now? Oh, you're muted.
Like I had to mute my cat.
There you go.
Yes, I do. My next draft, but it's not due out until probably 2022. We're still working on it.
Great.
But can you tell how that came to be and how you've been working on it?
We've been working on My Next Breath for the last 10 years. We started it as a documentary about Corey Allen, the director.
Oh, Corey, I know Corey.
Yes, yes. So Corey is a big part of it. And basically the message, and I studied with Corey for many years. And the basic message that he always left us with is, what are you going to do with your next breath? Question that we always take for granted. If you have a next breath, what are you going to do with it? And so we've incorporated that into a film about My Next Breath, about actors and actresses with disabilities and without, There's a lot to it, and I'm very excited about it. David Zimmerman is the executive producer of it.
Oh, we got to be looking for that.
Yeah.
Harry, I know that you work with the theater company and you've had created artistic partnerships. Do you have any ideas or advice or about forming artistic partnerships in that way that might inform your work and
That's really hard. I mean, we have so many young friends who are doing that, and I admire them so, because it's a lot of work to get all that done. And actually, Dawn and I, my wife and I, we benefit from it because they ask us to do roles in some of the projects that they're creating themselves, and I go, well, I have no idea how to do that, and I admire, but I agree. Yes, we should be trying to do that. Try to create our own projects. Try to if you can write something. If you're skilled with the camera, film something. But it's I'm the wrong person to ask, because I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to. I don't write. I get a project, and that's my work, and I act, and so there you go.
Connecting with the community has been. I know I've heard you speak about how in interviews about how exciting that is, and I think creating a community like the girlfriends that Jackie was talking about is equally important, and you can maybe amplify that. Sheri, I was just going to come to ask you.
Yeah, we have a community in Los Angeles, and it's Native Voices at the Autry, and it has it's a wonderful program, and it also has non-native. So we have writers that write, and there's a whole season, and since COVID hit, we just finished, it had just aired yesterday, and I was a senior. There was like 3 seniors, a member of the cast, and it's called Super Indian, and it was just voiceovers. It's a comedy, and hopefully, it'll get picked up for Aragon Star. But if any of you, there's always things going on at the Autry, and these young native writers from all over the country submit their works, but there's a lot of non-native parts. So that's an ongoing thing. So you might check that out, for everybody.
Right. All of you entered the business at different times in your lives, and I know you all have experience on stage as well as film and TV. So can you tell me, I'm just curious, if you can tell me when you started noticing professional opportunities declining, and what you might have done about it, or thought about it, how you decided to act, because you all clearly keep going. When did you notice a difference?
I would like to say that declining has never been in my language. I think even from when I was a younger person and up until now, I think it really helps, unless it's really humiliating, to do anything anybody asks if you have a chance, because you never know what is going to lead to something else, who you're going to connect with that you don't even know exists yet, that will have a major change in your existence. That happened to me my whole young life. It happened to me after I got a divorce. I was like this, and then people said, you want to do this? Yes. You want to do this? Yes. I ended up being a wardrobe assistant for a small play they were doing for the city council to make a point about women. But through being this wardrobe assistant, I met somebody else that led me into another future experience. And that's almost fun, to do something absolutely meaningless and have it accidentally just be a real springboard to something else. It's just say yes. I did a play recently on Zoom. I played an older woman. It was really fun. I put on a shawl, but I could be a cheerful older woman. But because somebody else that's creative and wrote it and said, would you do this? You just go, sure. And then you get to exercise your very being and learn how to use a new technology, which, they didn't even have computers or whatever when I was a kid. So to be a part of it is good, and say yes works for me.
Anybody
That's good.
else? When
I'd like to say that where there's a will, there's a way. And that's what my mom always used to say to me. Interestingly, a couple of years ago, I had another back surgery. And a month later, I got a script emailed to me for the Deadwood movie. And I was reading it and I was bawling, crying. There was no way I could do it because I hadn't recovered from surgery. So I called production and said, please tell David Milch that he has my blessing to recast Jewel. I can't walk very well yet. I'm still in a back brace. I'm still a wheelchair user, physical therapy, occupational therapy. And she said, are you sure you want me to tell him that? And I said, yes, because it's the truth. And I know he doesn't like surprises. So he called me the next day and he said, I got your message. And I said, yeah, who are you casting in my role? And he said, you. There's only one Jewel and it's you. And I don't care if I have to get a wheelchair accessible van, if we have to make script changes, whatever it is you need, we will work with you. So I thought that just blew me away, that he even hired a driver to take me to and from the set because I couldn't drive yet.
Wow.
Wow.
I agree with everything
Great.
that people are saying here about getting involved in just about anything. Because the more that you do, whether it's theater or television, the larger your network becomes, right?
Yes.
And and one thing hopefully will lead to another. I feel very lucky. I've had wonderful opportunities, and I'm pretty sure that's because I'm a guy, right? It's so much harder for women in this business, certainly in this town. But I've had, when you say, what can we do to make this better? I sort of go with the flow, whatever comes. The roles that I audition for at this point, I think are appropriate to me. It's just get out there and do whatever you can. You're going to meet somebody that may say, hey, you're right for this project, you're right for this series, you're right for this film. So don't be insulated. Don't do that. Try to get involved. It's hard, of course, with the pandemic, but once it all opens, and it's going to open up, we're going to get out of this sooner than later. And but to get out there and just do as much as you can.
Great. I'm looking at the time. It just has gone like zippity doo dah. So I'm gonna jump to what may be a kind of final question. I know that you made a good point, Harry, because statistically speaking, roles for women are only about 30% in film, with senior women only a small slice of that.
Yeah.
So also, I think in this last question, we're going to kind of combine that to my female warriors at arms here as well to address that, how we can be more vocal about that and how we can create change. But the general question that I want to just ask everybody, just to kind of wrap up, what would be your kind of most succinct thoughts about, to offer your advice, your ideas, your musings, whatever, on how we might make a positive systemic change in the underrepresentation of multidimensional roles for seasoned performers. What might we do? And also, because we haven't, I think, to talk about forming allies with other people and younger people in particular, how do you think we can achieve that? Because we said we're going to try to make this result oriented. What is what are your best ideas or thoughts about how we can make a systemic change? I'm going to go to each one of you before the end of this panel. Okay, yeah, Harry, I'll leave you at the end. I see you going, wait a minute. So who wants to be first? I'll just say who wants to be first.
I'll go first.
Okay, go, Lee.
So I listening to what everybody has said, and something that Harry said really struck me, because it is a societal. Now, I have lived in Europe and I've lived in London. I have taught, I have studied, I have performed in London. So I know that scene really well. And trust me, ageism is very strong there. We just get to see the little slice that shows older performers. But I got lots of older friends that are saying, I can't get a job. You know, I'm over 40, I'm over 50, I'm over, it's, you know, Helen Mirren has got all the jobs, and two other people. But I think we do have societal hurdle here that has happened, I'd say, in the last 50 years, maybe longer. I think that during World War II, I believe that, even though I wasn't around, but I believe that older people were incredibly well respected. And then along came the 60s, all of us. And we kind of ended that. Now we're paying the price. I would say, step outside your comfort zone, like Ellen had said. I'm trying to keep to the question about making the systemic change. Systemic change does not happen overnight. And this is why Jackie and I work so hard on behalf of seasoned performers. I think I go back to what we were saying earlier about you have to get to the decision makers. And the decision makers are not just within our industry. The decision makers are also in government. And I don't know if you all know this, but the government considers people over 40 to be senior citizens. Hello. We don't do that in the union, but yeah, over 40. And although when I was over 40, I suddenly felt like a senior citizen, since I was no longer the ingenue. So I think that we need to really get bigger about this and go to the government and say, hey, you know, we are a protected class. We are. Age is protected, just like race is protected, religion is protected. And if you look in I think it's 7 protected classes, age is one of them. But what's being done about it? Really not much, other than Medicare. I mean, there's really not much to protect older people, and so they have employment. I think that it's really important for us to all work as a whole and to approach government, to approach culture, to approach our own industry, and try to create systemic change that way. Because if people see older people on screen being respected, being accomplished, not being the butt of the jokes, right? But being the wisdom, being the humor, being the sexy one. I think we have to work towards that, because we are entertainers, we are performers. And I think that's the way for us to do it. It's a multi-pronged approach, and it's a huge topic. And I really would like to see it resolve in my lifetime, but I don't know that it will. But I think that's the thing, is for us to all work and network to get appropriate older characters on screen, and to also follow what our Senate and our Congress are doing for older people, which is basically nothing, and are very, very little. So that's my viewpoint.
Great. I see we have like 1 minute left. We can go over a little bit, but so let's just go to some quick thoughts.
I think what we could do right here and right now, and it's local, is go to the USC Film School, go as a group, as a senior group, go talk to these young kids, because they're going to be the decision makers of the future, like next year, and they're going to be in government too. So, I mean,
Yeah.
we're here, and we might as well start now and then fan out. And the government, thank God for Biden, he's no spring chicken. So we've got that on our side, so that's going to help us. So that's quickly what I think.
Great. Thank you, Sheri. Geri.
Great.
Harry, or did you say Harry or Jerry?
Oh, I could go to Harry, but I could go to Geri.
No, go to
if you
Jerry.
want.
Go
Geri,
to Jerry, please.
Get off mute. Your cat's fine. We love cats.
She can't hear you.
I think Jerry's frozen.
Harry,
I
Harry,
think
go
he's
for
frozen.
it.
Frozen.
I agree. Leah's right. We all know somebody in position of power. At least I hope we do. Some producer, some writer, something. I don't know. Maybe government. If you know somebody in government, and bend their ear, try to just have a cup of coffee with them or something, and just talk about this problem. I think that's the only way that we're going to hopefully get someone to go, oh, that you might be right there. Let's just think about that. It's going to be hard to convince a 20-year-old. It might not be hard to convince a 40 or 50-year-old. So go for it. I say, let's just go for it.
Great. Jackie, and did we?
I'll just try and talk really fast. I think what we could do as individuals is be conscious of being our very best self. And as we're out there, to let people see that we are looking forward to something, that we're saying, what can we do next? Not just saying, well, I think we'll go inside and take a nap. It's having a goal, and that we're still functional and ambitious. So just let people see that, and maybe it'll get in the air someplace.
Thank you. I think somehow we don't have Geri. She went frozen and went away, but we thank you, Geri. You were fantastic. Such a wonderful, wonderful panelist. I think we're wrapping up now and moving on, aren't we? As I see Rebecca's beautiful face there. So thank you all. You're just a fabulous panel. What a wonderful, just easy conversation full of passion and ideas and excitement. So that's what we want to impart, right? That we still have passion and excitement and
So,
ideas.
Ellen, before we let them go, first off, you all really were amazing. And I really took away the piece of this about making sure that people are reminded of the wholeness of your being, the real, true, portrayals that it's not just about more jobs and more opportunities so that the society sees themselves reflected on screen. But I loved when Lee and Jackie and several of you worked it in there in different ways, talking about the wholeness, the being truly, your whole person. Sexy. I love that you use that word. All those things are making sure that people see the fullness, of who we are as people. And in a time where there is so much obvious hate and bias and all these things, I think it is, you also brought to light that this is an area that people don't necessarily think about that way in the way that they should. And I really heard that. And I think all the people listening today really can have that takeaway of making sure that they are amplifying and being good allies, and making sure there are people watching from all around the country to make sure that they're talking to their local groups and saying, listen, you guys can have an active role, and we want to see ourselves. And I always think when it comes to advertisers, it's such a missed opportunity that they don't show people seeing themselves in that way, in the way that when it happens and it's authentic, it is truly powerful. And you guys really were so authentic and powerful today that SAG-AFTRA is so lucky to have you. And people I know really enjoyed this panel. So thank you for amplifying that up. So I also need to really thank you, Ellen, for moderating what was a really fantastic panel with some actual tangible things that people can do. I always appreciate that. Jackie and Lee, your introductory remarks, as well as your being able to hang out with us a little longer, was just fantastic. And I must tell you that I don't know that they planned it this way, but Sheri, Harry, and Geri rhyming.
A lot of it.
There you go. But it was wonderful. So we're going to just be taking a little tiny break right now. for lunch Pacific time, but for the rest of us in other time zones, a little cup afternoon coffee here. It's 2:30 in the East if you've already had your lunch. We're going to be back at 12:45 Pacific, 3:45 Eastern for our next panel, Illuminative, Recentering Native Americans in the Media, which is going to have an also really fantastic conversation. So come back and be with us in just a little bit. And again, for SAG-AFTRA, thank you guys. What a great
Thank you.
conversation. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.